Hey, what's up guys? I'm Joe, and today we're going to talk about the 3 things for a hassle-free gate: HOA compliance, material selection, and proper design. All right, today we're here on site in Maumelle at Depot Bend, and we're going to talk about the 3 things to make your gate install hassle-free. One is HOA compliance, which here we had to accommodate some of their stipulations. 2 is material selection and how to select the proper material for a durable, long-lasting gate. And then 3 is proper design and why we designed and used some of the components that we did here. So let's get into it. All right, so as we talked with the HOA, it is always a good idea to check on what your either HOA requires with any alterations or fences or any projects at your house, or even when you bought or purchased your house, there may be covenants and restrictions for your particular area that may specify things like you can only do these types of fencing, or you could only do these certain heights. And so those details are good to check any paperwork that you have, and then just discuss with your neighbors and your area. Also, your fence contractor should know some of just in the area of what the regularities are, but it's always good to check your specific paperwork and for your specific home. But pulling that to here at Depot Bend, so one of the stipulations is that you cannot have a trailer that's visible to the road. So as you can see, I was like, why do these gates look so funny, or why are they all blacked out? But we did a normal steel fence here, or steel gate, that is like our normal Ameristar material, but we needed to figure out a way to make it private. And then this particular homeowner didn't want to do any kind of wood or anything that would have to require maintenance and upkeep. So wood would have been an easy solution to block the view and make it private, but we wanted to stick with the steel. 1, because it'll match what's back in the backyard, and then 2, with the powder cut that's on it, it's long lasting and durable. We came up with this, and so what you're looking at here is our normal steel fencing and gates, but we got some aluminum sheeting. So this is a thin aluminum sheet metal, and it was already black, both black on the front side and the back side. And then we had to fabricate our gates like normal. We set our post first with our normal process, set our post, got our measurements between the posts, and then fabricated our gates to fit as we normally would. But then once we did that, we cut these aluminum sheets to fit, and then attached them with some small set screws along the back to secure them to the gates and get them in place here. We ran into a couple things that we had to consider and kind of overcome with that. One was the hardware and how we're gonna hang this. So we obviously wanted to get as much privacy as possible. Now we had to leave our normal opening for clearance for our hardware and latches and such. But for things such as like our hardware here for the drop rod, it typically is a bracket like this, so it has to come around the gate upright. So we just left enough of a space to get that through there. And then like with our latch, you can see it may be easier on the back side, but we had to drill through to get this bolt there. And then the other thing that we realized was on the hinge side. Now we can look on the back, since the size of these gates, they have these diagonal tensioners on them, and those intruded into this area where this metal was going to be. So we had to do a little notch out for our tensioner, and then we also had to do a notch out for the female side of our hinges. So this is the male side with a pin that is on the post, but then we have a female side here. But in order to have the room to slide this female in place, we had to notch out a little window or a little cutout there to give us the clearance to maneuver. So we couldn't just do a exact cutout the size of this. We had to have enough that we could have a little bit of room to slide that in place, because the typical setup is getting the males in place, getting them set at the position and distance that you need, and then securing either the bottom or the top, and then sliding on the other one to make that connection. So something to consider, and things that we kind of had to adjust as we went along to make room for our hinges and allow them to function and be installed like they normally would. All right, so for securing the aluminum back here, we have some set screws. We also utilized our normal bolts for the hardware to bolt it through the sheet aluminum in order to hold it in place. And then, as we discussed, here are the tensioners here. And so this is, to quiz you, this is a tension brace. I know we've talked about the difference between a compression and a tension brace, but this is a tension brace. So it's pulling up against gravity. So it's got to go from the bottom of the latch side to the top of the hinge side. So we've got these tensioners, and we talked about having to cut out around for those, but then this does allow, especially on the size of this gate, to make adjustments and either tighten or loosen this to put different tension on this bar and help secure this gate, and also prevent it from sagging or settling over time. So that gives you an idea of what that looked like on the back side, and then also how we utilize those tensioners on a gate of this size or larger gates.
Is the tensioner welded onto the thing?
Yeah, so this is when we talked about the process a little bit of fabricating these gates. Whenever we make these, we weld this end of the tensioner onto the gate, and then on the hinge side we weld this L bracket here, and then this threaded end of the tensioner goes through the hole on this bracket, and then there's a nut that holds it there. Okay, yeah, the other thing about planning for these tensioners, on the front end we've got to think through, like we talked about, with it being a tension brace, we want to make sure that we weld it on correctly, especially since we're welding it in place at the shop. So we want to think through the way that these gates are going to be oriented to make sure that we're welding it at the bottom of the latch side, and then welding this tensioner piece at the top of the hinge side. So with a double gate, that's fairly simple because you're just making a V like this. But on this one, there are specifics, because this metal specifically needed to be the back side of the gate, and then the fence side needed to be the front side of the gate. So you got to take those into consideration when you're planning and welding. You also got to consider, like, if you make the gate to have any fall, then you want to lay that out appropriately and determine whether you're hinging from, say, the left side or right side, and then get your tensioner running the correct direction in order for it to function like it should and truly be a tension brace. And I'm sure somebody's gonna ask, well, what about the side view over here from the street that way? So that's where they're getting creative with the design on this. We're doing the fence and privacy up here, but they're gonna plant and do some landscaping here with some shrubbery to block that view completely. So they're mixing a couple things here with both the fence and the landscaping in order to accommodate what they need to stay compliant with the HOA. All right, so just in summary, we talked about the HOA and their requirements and the importance of checking and seeing what stipulations and requirements they have so that you stay compliant with projects and fences at your house. And then we talked about material selection and the durability and low maintenance of steel and other materials and how that's important in your decision. And then third, we talked about the gate design and some of the things we had to do with this gate specific, and how things like the hardware and the tension braces operate with a gate like this. So, hey, thanks for checking out this video. I hope you found that helpful. Make sure and like this video. It helps out a ton. And then subscribe to the channel for more gates just like this.